I want to add a little bit more context to this viral video. If you've been living in a state of fight or flight for a long time, there's a good chance that there are other things happening in your body, whether you know it or not. The state of fight or flight is something that we are only meant to visit temporarily and then come back to a regulated state. And this is because what happens when we are triggered into fight or flight takes a pretty intense toll on our body. We release hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. We pump all the blood to our extremities. It stops our digestion and can even temporarily lower our immune system, which all makes sense if we are temporarily running from a tiger and trying to survive. But what happens when these things are happening in our body day after day after day? As humans, we are only designed to be in fight or flight, maybe like 10-15% of the time. The rest of the time, we're supposed to be in what's called our parasympathetic nervous system, the state of rest and digest. And modern society has pretty much flipped that on us. We are spending 80% of our time in survival mode and maybe only 10 to 20% in a state of true rest, safety, and regulation. So if you've been stuck in a chronic state of survival mode, you likely have an anxiety diagnosis, maybe depression. You may have an autoimmune diagnosis if you're predispositioned to that, because this tanks our immune system being in this state all the time. You might have digestive issues, constipation, diarrhea, maybe an IBS diagnosis, or even some other chronic illness. Because when you drive any piece of machinery in overdrive for too long, it starts to break down. So do you. And this is not your fault. You likely came into this world a perfectly regulated and healthy human and then entered into a completely dysregulated society, childhood, one trauma after another, layered and layered and layered, deepening this dysregulation. And so as you start healing, as you start shifting your state from that sympathetic survival mode into a regulated parasympathetic, this can feel really funny for our body. And when you finally make that shift and you do enter into some deep rest, your body grasps at that and it sinks into what is maybe the first true deep rest that it's gotten in a while. And sometimes in this stage of healing, you have the thoughts of, I'm never going to get better. I thought healing was supposed to make me feel better. And this is the part of healing that sometimes feels a little worse. And you need to rest for sometimes days, weeks, or even months, depending on how intense this switch is for you and how quickly it's happening. Sometimes this is referred to as your dark night of the soul. It is an important part of healing. I just want to be here to remind you that healing is not linear. It may not feel like it's going to get better, but it will. And it is so helpful for you to have support during this season of your healing. If you want to learn more about a neuroscience approach to anxiety or depression and get this support, click the link in my bio to join me in June when a brand new mental health membership launches.